What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Early Edge. We have a great show today, packed with a ton of picks. I do want to say, though, programming note, we do have the NFL Mega Preview. You know that was changed to Wednesday. It's this afternoon. It's Wednesday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just an FYI, this goes back to Tuesday at 4 next week. But again, the preview show is today at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's our NFL Week 14 best bets. I can't wait for that show. But more importantly, I can't wait to invite our guests onto this show, our experts onto this show. Let's bring them in. We've got Proppy, we've got Mikey B, we've got Martin Green. Proppy, I haven't had a show with you at least a couple days. How you doing today, buddy?
Sia, I am doing great. Good morning, gentlemen. I am fired up. I, for one, have been really enjoying this NBA in-season tournament. We are down to 4 teams, single elimination. Really looking forward to seeing how this thing shakes out.
Professional transition from Proppy, because the first thing we're going to talk about is the NBA. Let's talk about our premier NBA matchup tonight. We've got the Magic. Don't look now, but the Magic, maybe it's a Magic act. They're pretty good right now. They're walking into Cleveland. It's a 4.5-point spread. Cleveland minus 4.5, of course, 22.5-point total. Mikey B, don't worry, Martin. I'm going to get you involved in just a second. But Mikey B, I'm going to start with you here. You got to play on the side or the total.
Pretty crazy that on an 11-game slate, the Cavs-Magic game is one of the marquee matchups, and it certainly is. Both teams have played really well. The Magic have some crazy stats. They're 15-5 against the spread this season, 7-3 against the spread on the road, 13-3 against the spread following a day off, and yet I'm leaning towards the Cavs covering. The Cavaliers don't have great against the spread stats because they've had a lot of injuries. Garland, Mitchell, Allen have all missed at least 4 games. They're healthy right now. They're at home, so I'd lean towards the Cavaliers covering the 4.5.
Yeah, this does seem, Proppy, I'll kick it to you. This does seem like a stock up, stock down situation where if you're taking the Magic, you're taking them at an all-time high in terms of their stock value. And that's why I kind of agree with Mikey B, and just given the points here on the Cavs minus 4.5. Do you disagree? Am I wrong?
See, I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian here. This matchup is so fascinating to me. These teams actually kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways. They're both excellent defensively. They're both very long. They both protect the paint. They're very hard to score on inside. This Magic team I've just been so impressed by all season long. They have one of the deepest rotations in the NBA, just a bevy of talent, so many athletic defenders with length. Off the bench, Jalen Suggs, in my opinion, has blossomed into one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. The one advantage the Cavs have in this matchup is experience in these big-time kind of marquee matchups, coupled with the fact they have 2 closers in Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, who obviously are very good in the fourth quarter, making these high degree of difficulty shots. But I'm going to take the Magic here. I'm just a believer in this team getting 4.5 points. They're 9-1 over their last 10 games. I think they keep this close, and this game ends up being down to the wire and finishes within a possession.
Well, I certainly hope it is down to the wire, because I think these are 2 very exciting teams. And if you agree with Proppy, by the way, or maybe if you agree with Mikey B, maybe you want to place a bet on this game. And where will you place that bet? Well, maybe it's BetMGM. There we see Willie Beeman, a.k.a. Jamie Foxx. BetMGM, check this out, has all the action for every sports fan. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get a first bet offer up to $1,500. If your first bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets with bonus code EDGE1500. Again, that's EDGE1500. Now listen, I got to get Martin involved here. But before I do that, Martin Green, I want to hear a message from our partners.
A game of honor. The Army-Navy game presented by USAA. Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Now, one thing I know about this community, this early edge community, is that Martin Green and Buckets have really grown the soccer population. I'm becoming a soccer fan, and I'll be honest with you, I was never a soccer fan. I played soccer when I was younger, but I was never really a soccer fan. But Martin, you've gotten me into it. Buckets, of course, has gotten me into it. And we've got a huge EPL matchup tonight. Aston Villa versus Man City. I know there's a lot of people in the chat that are interested in which direction you are going. Martin, what's it going to be?
This is a fascinating game, Sia, because Aston Villa are 100% winning record at home in the league so far this season. They've just been tremendous at Villa Park. Whereas Manchester City are the champions of Europe, ostensibly the best team in the world, but their recent form hasn't been all that great. They've drawn their last 3 games. It's very rare to see Manchester City go 3 games without a win, let alone 4. So if I was leaning one way or the other here, I would have to go for a Manchester City win, even though they're missing their best player in Kevin De Bruyne, and they just haven't been firing on all cylinders recently. But I would still definitely be leaning towards Manchester City out of the 2 because they still have better players in every department. I don't really like any of those money line plays, but I did find a prop bet that I like to honour Proppy being on the show with me, and it is that man Erling Haaland to score. You can grab odds of -110 on him. He's normally around the -200 mark, so I think that's a great price. This Norwegian striker has 19 goals in 20 games so far this season, but he did draw a blank in their last match, a 3-3 draw with Tottenham at the weekend. He missed a few glorious chances in that game, so I think he's going to be really fired up for this one. He's going to want to make amends, and I think the odds of him finding the back of the net look great. So I'm just going for a straightforward Erling Haaland anytime goal scorer bet at -110.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people in the chat that, Martin, I know you're familiar with. We had a pick from Bradley Jacobs yesterday that I know was endorsed by a member of the show. So Ben Horner, Bradley Jacobs, they've got plays on this game. If you have a play on this game or any game we talked about, put it in the chat. I mean, maybe we'll consider it. Maybe we'll give you a shout out. Hit the like button while you're at it. Martin, I love that pick. But you know what I like better? I like our best bets. So let's transition to our best bets. And Mikey B, I'm bringing you right back in because when it's NBA action, I look to Proppy, I look to you, and it looks to me like you've got 2 picks tonight. What are they?
I love attacking the Atlanta Hawks. So first, we're going to do Mikal Bridges over 24.5 points at -25, -125. Bridges had a 42-point performance against the Magic in his last game. That's really impressive because they have the 3rd best defensive rating in the league. The Hawks, they do not. They've played at the 3rd fastest pace, and they have the 5th worst defensive rating. The last time he faced them, Bridges scored 45 points in a game that went into overtime. Lots of minutes, lots of shot attempts. Great matchup. So Bridges over 24.5 points. And then we're going to go, yes, to my Bulls. Kobe White over 17.5 points at -130. Zach LaVine is out again with a foot injury. He's missed 3 games this season. Kobe White has scored at least 23 points in all 3 of those games. Overall, he scored at least 19 points in 6 of his last 7 games. He's shooting just over 40% from behind the arc. Great matchup against the Hornets. They have the worst defensive rating in the league. So we're going to close it out with Kobe White over 17.5 points.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be on that, Kobe White. Do you think that might tick up to, it's -130? If that ticks up to like 18.5, and maybe it won't, you could tell me if it's not going to, but if it's 18.5, would you tell people to maybe lay off it, or would you still be okay with it? Like, let's say it's -110 at 18.5, for example.
I'd still take it. I have seen it move to 18.5 in one place, but I would take it over 18.5. I think we got a 20-point performance coming here from Kobe White.
All right. I absolutely love that. I'm going to be on that one. By the way, Matty Ice says Valpo +3.5 college basketball. So that transitions nicely to my pick. I like Marquette tonight, but I don't think I want to lay the 8. You know me. I'm a first 5. I'm a first round guy. I'm a first half guy, especially when it comes to college football. But let's go to basketball. I'm going to go first half Marquette here. I really like this spot for Marquette. Coming off like kind of a bad loss to Wisconsin. They were 3.5-point favorites in that one. The long and short of it is I think Marquette is much better than Texas. And I think Marquette is national championship viable. So coming off that loss to Wisconsin, knowing, hey, this is a revenge game for Shaka Smart. And this team is very much behind Shaka Smart. We saw that when they whipped up on Kansas in Honolulu just 2 weeks ago. So I like Marquette in this spot. The reason I don't want to lay the 8, although I do like that, I just don't want it to come down to free throws at the end. I think Marquette is going to come off really hot. I think they're going to be really energized, especially coming off a lackluster performance against Wisconsin. I think Shaka Smart is going to have that sort of VCU mentality instilled in them, where coming off a bad loss, they are going to be quick to the ball and quick to score. Give me Marquette first half, -4 at -115. All right, well, we got a site pick, and we've got Martin Green's official picks and Proppy's official picks to come. But before we get there, one more message from our partners.
On the next NFL Monday QB, with only a month left on the regular season calendar, the Week 14 slate is filled with divisional rivalries. Go under center on the only NFL show all about quarterbacks. Monday on CBS Sports Network.
Speaking of Texas and Marquette, if you are a SportsLine member, you already have this pick because Kenny White has the over in that game. Texas Marquette over 147.5. Again, if you're a SportsLine member, you got that a long time ago. A little excerpt from his pick. Both teams love to push the pace and both have solid offenses. Marquette is the fastest team Texas has played, and Texas is the fastest team Marquette has played. My total, in other words, Kenny White's total, is 160. So that's blowing out the 147.5. Let's hope he's right. He usually is. Martin Green, you're usually right. You gave out a soccer lean in that big EPL match. You got 2 picks. They're not leans, they're picks. What you got?
So this is a really busy time in the Premier League fixture list. There's a real congested time and lots of teams have bad injuries. So we're seeing a lot of goals at the moment. So I'm looking at goals markets, Brighton versus Brentford, and both teams to score has paid off in all 14 of Brighton's games so far this season. They've been superb in attack, but really weak at the back, and they're not helped by injuries and suspensions to their key defenders. Brentford have scored in 4 of their 6 away matches this season. They're coming off a 3-1 win against Luton at the weekend, so they'll have the wind in their sails. It means that Brentford's matches have now averaged 2.93 goals so far this season, whereas Brighton's games have seen 4 goals on average. So I really think that both teams to score an over 2.5 goals looks like an attractive bet here at odds of -110. I also quite like just the Brighton -110 on the money line, but my favourite bet there is the both teams to score an over 2.5 goals. And just really quickly, looking ahead to the weekend's matches, I do like Manchester United to beat Bournemouth at Old Trafford. I know they still have to play Chelsea today, which is a big game, but odds of -143 on Brighton to beat on Manchester United to beat Bournemouth. Despite the recent form that they've been in, I think they should still have too much quality for the Cherries. So locking that one in now, -143.
All right. And Bradley Jacobs has a boost he wanted to ask about with Marquette first half money line parlayed with the full game. Bradley, I do like that. Martin Green, I like those picks. I'm starting to finally bet soccer. You and Buckets got me on it. So I'm going to have to take at least one of those, if not both. So if they lose, I'm coming after you, buddy. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I love your picks, man. I really do. So I'm definitely going to be laying some wood on that. Propstars, you've got 2 picks in the NBA. I love when NBA season comes around because I know I can count on you in the prop market. Listen, I can count on you in the prop market in the NFL too, and in all other sports. But when I first started doing shows with you, it felt like you were like the NBA prop guy. I know you still are. So I'm very excited to hear 2 prop picks that you got.
I appreciate that. See, I love this time of year, both with the NFL and NBA in full swing. But yeah, I have a pair of 2 NBA props. I'm backing 2 all-star centers tonight, starting with Nikola Vucevic. We're going to go over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. It's been a disaster of a season for Mikey B's Chicago Bulls. They're playing poorly. You have multiple players who could potentially be traded. Their trio of all-stars, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic could all be on different teams by the trade deadline. But if there was ever a get-right spot, it's tonight against these Hornets. Mikey B mentioned they are dead last in defensive efficiency. They also play at a pretty fast pace. They're 11th in possessions per game, and they're extremely generous to opposing centers, which is why I like Vucevic quite a bit tonight. No Zach LaVine, so his usage should see an uptick as well. I think he's going to end up with a nice, well-rounded game, which is why I'm targeting his combination line, going over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then I am going to back none other than Joel Embiid, a big number here. I typically don't play these big numbers, but we're going over 42.5 combined points and rebounds. He has the matchup of matchups against the Washington Wizards. The Wizards play at the second fastest pace and are the second to last in defensive efficiency. Mikey B targeting the Hawks. He mentioned targeting the Hawks. I love targeting this Wizards team, especially when we're looking at opposing centers. The Wizards give up the most points and the most rebounds to opposing centers. Unsurprisingly, Joel Embiid has absolutely feasted against the Wizards. His last 6 games, he's had at least 40 combined points and rebounds against this Wizards front court, which is extremely over match. If this game remains competitive and Embiid plays into the fourth quarter, in my opinion, he will easily sail north of this very big total. But I love both of these centers tonight, Sia.
Hey, let me ask you this on Joel Embiid and the Sixers, because, I mean, pretty much everybody's covering against the Wizards this year. Do you have any lean? I'm not asking for an official play, but any lean on the Sixers? I think that line is -10 right now. I mean, just the Wizards haven't offered a ton of resistance. Where are you at on that one?
Yeah, I'd have to back the Sixers here. I mean, we're just looking at two teams headed in completely polar opposite directions. The Wizards are content losing basketball games. Meanwhile, the Sixers are playing very well. Embiid is very rested. He hasn't played since, I believe, November 27th. So, yeah, I think the Sixers are in a good spot to win and win convincingly tonight.
Yeah, I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C., and I hear what you're saying. It hurts. And by the way, I got Santana Moss behind me holding up the Sean Taylor 21, and the Commander stuff hurts too. We got to turn things around here in DC, but I think we will. I'm just pointing that out. I think we will. Everybody, all you DC fans, you stay patient. Let's take a look. Thank you, by the way, Proppy. Let's take a look at the recap screen and look at these picks. Propstarz, he just told you, Joel Embiid over 42.5 points and rebounds at -120. Vucevic over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists, -125. Martin Green, Holland, ATGS -110, Brighton, Brentford, both teams to score and over 2.5 -110. And then, of course, Manchester U, money line -143. I've got Marquette first half -4. Mikey B, Mikal Bridges over 24.5 points, -125. Colby White over 17.5 points, -130. Really like that one. And we got a slight pick from Kenny White, of course, Texas Marquette over 147.5. I know some of you are wondering, by the way, where Coach is. I do have a statement in that regard. Jonathan Coachman, I should say Coach, and AB no longer with CBS Sports. The Early Edge will continue. As you know, we've got the show at 1 o'clock, and we're going to have our 10 a.m. shows, but I did want to get that message out there for those of you that were wondering about that. Again, we'll see you at 1 o'clock for the mega preview in the NFL. And, of course, I'll see you tomorrow at 10 in the morning for the Early Edge. Until then.